I think we're good to continue. All right, we're back. I want to apologize for technical difficulties. We're seeing more and more of those these days around the world. It's not our biggest problem, but it's something we work to overcome. As noted yesterday, parking fees at meters are waived and hotspot fees will be set to zero, while enforcement of hourly spaces and monthly permit parking is suspended until further notice. Now, this is not to encourage people to be out and about. Rather, it's meant to ease the burden of healthcare workers who are working around the clock, people who are self-isolating, and those who may be extending support to vulnerable residents. I continue to be very heartened by what I see online, from people and groups offering services to help the vulnerable and those most in need. There are a lot of people in crisis right now, from housing to food access, and at the same time, there are people stepping up. Take, for example, the Atlantic Compassion Fund, a partnership between United Way and Atlantic Business Interiors, a company who is donating up to $100,000 in office furniture and matching dollar for dollar the first $100,000 donated by individual businesses and individuals to help agencies meet the immediate needs of our communities. I know many businesses have already joined and are donating funds, goods, and services. If you can, consider supporting this initiative. You can donate at unitedwayhalifax.ca. I have to say, in these tough times, I'm proud to be the mayor of such a caring and compassionate community. Please continue to follow official social media updates for the most accurate information. I'm now going to pass things along to our Director of Parks and Recreation, Denise Schofield. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Savage. A continued thank you to staff and residents for their support, diligence, and cooperation during this very challenging time. And today, we'd like to give an important safety reminder to residents. As recommended by Public Health, we're asking everyone to please avoid contact with all high-touch air surfaces as much as possible, such as playgrounds, doorknobs, public stair rails. We know this is a very difficult ask, and we really appreciate your cooperation. And as the Mayor said, with the weekend coming up, we know everyone is searching for a break. Exercise has been challenging with the temporary closure of recreation centers and gyms, so this presents a great opportunity to get outside and have some much-needed fun, but we still want to be mindful of the need to social distance, and we don't want to overcrowd some of our really very popular parks and public spaces. So we want to encourage residents to visit our website to discover some of our more than 900 parks and trails. Many of these are located outside the city core and are actually undiscovered gems that are very much worth exploring. The Parks and Rec team are also going to be working to share some suggestions for other fun things to do while we practice social distancing and self-isolation. The municipality is committed to taking important steps to reduce the spread of COVID-19, so please continue to follow our social media channels and regularly visit our website at halifax.ca/coronavirus to stay up to date with the latest information related to municipal services adjustments. Now I'd like to pass over to the Chief Administrative Officer, Jacques Dubé, who will provide some of this information to our French-speaking residents. Mr. Dubé?
Thank you very much, Denise. Merci beaucoup. Bonjour tout le monde. Comme suggèrent nos experts en santé publique, s'il vous plaît, évite des zones de contact élevées comme des terrains de jeu, poignées de porte et garde-corps d'escalier. Nous savons que cela peut être difficile et on apprécie votre collaboration. Comme le maire a dit, avec l'arrivée du fin de semaine, tout le monde mérite un congé. Avec la fermeture des centres récréatifs et gymnases, c'est un moment opportun pour sortir dehors dans nos plus de 900 parcs à travers la municipalité. Visite notre site web pour en savoir plus en ce qui a trait à nos parcs et sentiers. Plusieurs sont situés à l'extérieur du centre-ville et vaut la peine d'explorer. Notre équipe de parcs et loisirs partagera sous peu des suggestions d'activités amusantes quand on est en isolation. La municipalité est dédiée à réduire la propagation du COVID-19. Continue à visiter notre site web halifax.ca coronavirus pour nos mises à jour. I will now ask Dave Ree, our Director of Halifax Transit, to bring an important update from his team. Dave?
Thank you, Jacques. I want to start by thanking everyone who's helping to keep our transit service running during this difficult time. I know your dedication to serving the residents is greatly appreciated across the municipality. However, due to declining availability of staff resources, as of Monday, March 23rd, Halifax Transit is targeting a 30% reduction in bus service on weekdays. We are continuing regular weekday schedules on some routes, while other routes will operate on their Saturday schedules during those weekdays. And there are 3 routes which will have no service, as they are essentially duplicated by other routes. The aim of this approach is to reduce the overall service level while minimizing gaps in the network. Weekend service will not be impacted at this time. Details regarding all route changes can be found at halifax.ca/transit. We are continuing to monitor and adapt to this rapidly evolving situation. For the most up-to-date information, please follow @HFX Transit on Twitter for any service disruptions. And as always, you can visit halifax.ca/coronavirus for all other municipal service adjustments to date. Thank you again to our operators, staff, and residents for your continued support. And I would now pass it over to Assistant Chief Erica Fleck.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our Emergency Operations Center continues to operate with our senior leadership team, and as stated daily, we assess our risk throughout every day, balancing the needs of our citizens and those of our employees. We do this while always taking the recommendations from the lead department, the Provincial Department of Health and Wellness. We understand that citizens continue to be concerned about the safety of themselves and others, and we want to remind everyone that as per the recommendations of the province's Chief Medical Officer, washing your hands, not touching your face, and avoiding touching common surfaces in the public is still our best defense. Halifax Regional Municipality, with recommendations from the province, we are doing everything that we can in order to flatten the curve. So what does flattening the curve mean? In contrast to a steep rise of coronavirus infections, a more gradual uptick of cases, we'll see the same number of people get infected, but without overburdening our health system at any one time. The idea of flattening the curve is to stagger the number of new cases over a longer period so that people have better access to care. As you've heard from all levels of government on every day this week, please avoid crowds. We need people to continue to practice safe social distancing. We're also encouraged to hear about grocery stores and drugstores that are offering dedicated hours to seniors and those who need assistance. We need to continue to work as a community to get through these tough times. And as mentioned yesterday, we are working on coordinating volunteer efforts in order to help with support like delivery of necessities, particularly for those who are self-isolating and those in need. Please continue to be safe, check on your family, your friends, and your neighbors, and please be kind to others. Thank you.
I think that's the speakers for today. So thank you, Jacques. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Denise. We'll take any questions that have been sent in. Nick?
We're going to start with a question from CBC. For you, Mr. Mayor, have we heard anything about provincial or federal plans to help the shelters deal with need for the homeless population?
Yeah, so this question of shelters is very important to us because we know that COVID-19 is particularly cruel to people who are most vulnerable. That could be people who are older, but can also be people with compromised immune systems. And so this morning, as a matter of fact, I had a conversation with the Premier, and this was a major topic that we discussed was the shelters. I'm pleased that Denise Schofield has been leading the charge along with Erica for us, working with the province to identify locations, and we have identified locations that we can use. We'll not be posting where those are publicly. There are security issues, and you know, it could be the case that some people might be fleeing abusive relationships, and people are entitled to their dignity and their privacy. But I think the relationship with the province is going very well to identify these spots. I want to thank people who deal with this all the time. So the Out of the Cold shelter, the people who deal through Shelter Nova Scotia, the Turning Point, and so many other places. I've always felt that the test of a society is how you treat those who are most in need, and at a time like this, it's even more so. So we're working on that issue very diligently.
And I'll mention that SALT had asked the question about municipal homeless shelters, and I believe you covered that in your response there. But another question from SALT is, given the province's eviction ban only covers evictions due to COVID-19 related rent, what would you say to landlords evicting people for other reasons during this pandemic?
Well, the Premier was very clear about a couple of things. Number one, that COVID-19 related issues isn't just people who are self-isolating or have COVID, but people who are facing financial hardship, that people are protected. And he's going to come out, the Premier and I think Minister Regan are coming out with more measures in that regard. We think that makes a lot of sense. If there are tenants that are doing some things that are not related to COVID-19, I think the tenants, the landlords would probably be particularly sensitive to that in any event. But I think that saying that people who are having an issue paying their rent right now because of losing their job or because their business is struggling, they should have that protection, and I think it's the right thing.
And again, for you, Mr. Mayor, perhaps some supplementary comment from Assistant Chief Fleck. When people are instructed to self-isolate or enter quarantine, will Halifax Police be working with the province and the health authority to monitor this? And has that idea been looked at in order to make sure people who are sick or have traveled are in compliance?
Erica, do you want to take that one?
So very simply, we don't have jurisdiction over that, and it's under the Health and Wellness Act that Dr. Strang, is issuing that direction with the Premier. So it's a provincial decision.
For the mayor, and perhaps I hear there's some difficulty online hearing my question, so perhaps
Okay.
repeat the question. What is being done in the municipality with regards to the North American Indigenous Games? Will those conversations about postponing or canceling happen in the near future?
So the question was about the NAIG Games, the North American Indigenous Games, which are scheduled for July, and what the plans are for that. There is a NAIG council that would, I think, make a recommendation to our local team who have been working so hard on that and putting together volunteers and organizing the venues. We're all very excited about being asked to host the NAIG Games. It's a big event for our municipality, but I think that it's safe to say that everybody is reevaluating what they can and can't do and the impact that it would have with hotels and with bars and restaurants. We don't know the circumstance of what they will be doing and at the time of the NAIG Games. So the tattoo, which has been so big for so long in this municipality, has been canceled. Many of the things have been canceled because public safety comes first. I would be surprised if we didn't hear in the next couple of weeks a resolution to whether or not the NAIG Games can go ahead. We're all excited about it, and if they can't go ahead, it's our hope we might be considered for another time because this community has really come together around NAIG.
It's a question for our American Transit. This is from Radio Canada, so perhaps when we're finished, Jacques can come up and reiterate in French. How is transit being affected now, and details regarding a drop in the use, what our numbers are looking like right now? Can you elaborate on the schedule at all?
Sure. So the question was around what's the impact been on transit in terms of reduced usage and any elaboration on the schedule changes. So in terms of reduced usage, the numbers as of yesterday, all up, transit is down 63% in ridership over what we would normally be. Broken down a little bit further, ferries down 75%, excessive buses down 75%, and the conventional fixed route transit bus system is down 62%. So those numbers continue to decline as we've seen that trend all week. And I guess in terms of the actual service changes, I would refer back to the comments earlier. Just we are going to a weekday service, a Saturday service on weekdays, with some supplemental routes operating on weekday service. So it is a bit of a blend. There'll be more information coming out on the website shortly. Again, ask everyone to check halifax.ca/transit for more details.
Merci pour la question. Avec le déclin des ressources humaines disponibles à partir de lundi, le 23 mars, notre service de transport en commun sera réduit à 70 de notre capacité normale. Je dois vous dire que tout et partout dans notre système de transport en commun, on voit des réductions de passagers à 63 nos traversiers, on vit une réduction de passagers de 75 nos autobus, 62 et nos autobus accessibles voient une réduction à 75 à l'instant. Avec les changements qu'on mettra en place sous peu, lundi en fait, notre service de week-end, de fin de semaine ne sera pas affecté. Tous les détails des changements de route peuvent être trouvés à halifax.ca transit. On vous demande de suivre toute l'information de jour à jour, de minute à l'autre, sur notre service de Twitter en commercial halifax.tra pour tous les nouvelles là-dessus. Et on vous encourage aussi de visiter notre site web de la municipalité, halifax.ca, coronavirus, pour en savoir plus en détail. Je veux aussi remercier nos conducteurs, nos dirigeants et les résidents pour votre soutien en ce qui a trait au service de transport et en ce qui a trait aussi à tous les services municipaux qu'on est en train de livrer. Je dois aussi mentionner qu'on a fait des changements à l'intérieur des autobus, dans le sens qu'on défend les passagers de s'asseoir directement à l'arrière du conducteur. On demande à tous les passagers aussi d'entrer et sortir à l'arrière de l'autobus. Et on a fourni des masques protecteurs à tous les conducteurs. En plus, on nettoie les autobus une fréquence de 24 à 48 heures. Et tous les passagers doivent être assis en tout temps. Et on a quand même physiquement identifié la zone protecteur entre le conducteur et les passagers. Merci pour votre collaboration et votre compréhension vis-à-vis des changements qu'on s'impose. Merci.
Another question for Dave. We've heard from bus drivers that they are uncomfortable with the way the city is managing the situation. For example, the fact transit is now free is pushing some people to use the service more. Also, the fact that there are people out of work because they're in self-isolation. Apparently, the drivers are working more than usual. How are you ensuring that your drivers are staying safe and healthy?
So there's numerous actions that we've taken in order to help with the safety of the drivers, and actually not collecting fares was one of those actions, and having everybody board and exit through the rear doors to reduce that potential interaction between the driver and the passengers. Having said that, of course, we would urge people again not to use transit if you're not feeling well, and not to use transit unless you have to. It's not a place to hang out or to entertain yourself. It's really just there for the essential trips. We are taking a lot of other actions as well to protect the operators, including providing masks. We've increased cleaning on the buses. We've limited the seating on the buses to the seated capacity, no standing passengers. We've limited the capacity of the ferry to 50 people. We've actually closed off the seat directly behind the operator, and just recently now we're taping off the area towards the front of the bus, just again to provide further visual deterrent from passengers who may, out of goodwill, want to go up and pay a fare when really we want them to stay clear of the operator cabin. So these are steps we're taking based on what we're hearing from our operators and in conversations with the union. And this is also through conversations with our counterparts across the country and what other transit systems are doing. In regards to the question around some operators having to work a lot more, we absolutely recognize that. As I mentioned in my comments, we are down in terms of the number of operators who are at work right now, those declining staff resources, and absolutely do recognize That does put the burden on a lot of other people who are working a lot of extra hours, and I really do appreciate that, and I know our residents do as well. And all of those are factors that have gone into the decision to reduce service on Monday by 30%.
This is a question for Denise. And our viewers are again asking us if we can repeat the question. Some cities are closing down parks. Is that something we're considering?
So the question was that some cities are closing down parks, and are we considering that here in HRM? As I mentioned, we have over 900 parks and we have over 400 playgrounds. Being outside is one of the activities that isn't as risky as some others at this time, so we're not considering at this time closing parks. We do want residents to have options that put them in less risk, but we are recommending, of course, that you follow all the health recommendations to have social distancing and to not touch public assets and spaces such as playgrounds or benches that have a lot of high touch occurring. So at this time, we're not suggesting that we're closing parks.
Question for the mayor. Malls are still open and some less important non-essential businesses remain open. When should those be closed?
Well, I want to be very clear about this, that we work closely with the province. We take direction from the province. We support the work that's been done by the government, certainly by Dr. Strang and by Dr. Watson-Creed, and they will make those determinations. We have seen large retailers like IKEA, like Moores, like Roots, and perhaps others who are closing down. I'm sensitive to the fact that there are people working in the malls who wouldn't be working if they weren't in the malls. But I would just say, in terms of social distancing, malls are a difficult place to do that. So people have to be very careful when they're out and about. We'll take direction from the province on further decisions.
Question for Assistant Chief Flood. Again, if you can repeat the question. How many police officers and firefighters are currently in self-isolation?
So the question is, how many police officers and firefighters are currently in self-isolation? So HRM will not divulge any employee information, period, about self-isolation or possible cases. What I can say is that both from police and fire, that there are no reductions in services.
That's for you again, please. Are there any cities in Canada that the city sees as being a leader in this crisis? And are we looking to them as a model?
Absolutely. So I'm part of a big city emergency management group that's led by Calgary, and my counterpart out there, Tom Sampson, and all of our group, we converse on a daily basis. We share best practices, daily sit reps going back and forth. So I rely on Calgary quite a bit, but many other cities throughout Canada, and we're all really in the same place. We've all put the same measures into place pretty well across the board, and we continue to share information.
Last question. Has Halifax Fire considered calling in retired firefighters to beef up its ability to respond during the pandemic?
So Halifax Fire doesn't have any reduction in service right now. I can't comment if they would look at doing that in the future. We'd have to ask that to Chief Steubing, but right now there is no reduction in service.
Thank you. I'll pass to the mayor to conclude the conference.
So thank you to all of the folks who shared the microphone today. Thank you to the people who sent in questions. Thanks to those who are watching. We're heading into a weekend, but as I said before, COVID-19 doesn't take the weekends off. The city will continue to be full bore on all of the issues that we need to be in terms of fighting the spread of COVID-19. I do want to acknowledge my councillors who are not naturally a crew that social distance. They are people who, by their nature and their jobs, are out and about a lot, and they're doing everything that they can to help their constituents through this difficult time. I also want to acknowledge that we are in a unique time in the country. As a former member of Parliament, to see the House of Commons come together in the way that they have, possibly meeting next week in a safe way so that they support the measures that have been brought forward, and at the provincial, this is taking taking this fight very seriously. And, you know, we're not there yet by a long shot, but I have great confidence in the people of this city, the staff of this city, the province, and this country that we will overcome COVID-19. And again, I'll say, we'll be back. Thank you all.